Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh and welcome to Ummah Radio. You are listening to the Hanafi Fiqh class with myself, Abu Mus'ab. Alright, so we are busy with the kitab, the Hanafi Fiqh kitab known as Noorul Eedhaah of Imam Ashrun Bulali rahimahullah. And though in our last class we were previously in the chapter of Salah, but from this week onwards in preparation for the month of Ramadan, inshallah, we will be skipping all the way over to page 67 of this particular print of the kitab, to Kitaabus Sawm, the chapter on fasting, so that we can complete this chapter inshallah before the month of Ramadan arrives. So that is where we will be beginning tonight inshallah. So without further ado, Bismillah walhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillahi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man walah. He says Kitaabus Sawm, the chapter of fasting. What is fasting? He says هو الإمساك نهارا عن إدخال شيء عمدا أو خطأ بطنا أو ما له حكم الباطن وعن شهوة الفرج بنية من أهله. That is the sum total of what fasting is. He says it is to abstain during the day from entering anything into the body intentionally or mistakenly. He says بطنا, meaning something which reaches your stomach, or ما له حكم الباطن, or something which has the same ruling of that, the inside, meaning something which goes to your brain. So things which go to your stomach and things which go to your brain, these two things will cause your fast to break. He says furthermore وعن شهوة الفرج, and the shahwa is, the desires and lusts of the private parts, those sort of things also is what you have to abstain from while fasting. But he mentions the most important point. He says بِنِيَّةٍ مِّنْ أَهْلِهِ, is that you must have an intention for fasting. It's not just simply a matter of staying away from food and drink and other stuff. If you just simply stay away without making an intention, then your fast is invalid. So the first point is that without an intention you have no fast, despite the fact that as far as things look, you have abstained from everything and all things of that nature, but without that intention, you were just staying hungry. So that's why it says بِنِيَّةٍ مِّنْ أَهْلِهِ, you have to have an intention for fasting the month of Ramadan. Only then will your fast now be valid. So that is what fasting is. He says وَسَبَبُ وُجُوبِ Ramadan. Now, what are the causes for fasting to become obligatory? He says it is what makes Ramadan obligatory. He says shuhudu juz'in minhu, that you witness even a portion of the month of Ramadan. So for example, 27 days of Ramadan has passed by. Now a person, a kafir, he converts to Islam, then he has met juz'in minhu, he has obtained a portion of the month of Ramadan. Therefore from that day onwards he has to fast those last few days of the month. So that is what juz'in minhu means. Alternatively, if a person was in a coma and then he wakes up last week of Ramadan, then that last week of Ramadan he has to fast. So that is or a child hasn't reached the age of puberty, and during the month of Ramadan he now reaches the age of puberty, then from that point onwards fasting becomes obligatory for him. Obviously he should have been fasting ages ago, from a young age, so he knows he's in the habit of fasting. You can't let a child grow up till the age of 15 and expect, okay, now you must start fasting while you were eating the last 15 years of your life. No, from as small and as young as possible you start children out with fasting, so that it's second nature for them, and they fast long before they reach the age of puberty, so that by the time they reach the age of puberty, then they have not missed any fasts, because they have been in the habit already all the years. So in any case, that's just an example, that suppose now a child was not fasting and now during Ramadan he reached the age of puberty, then he will be required, it will be obligatory upon him to start fasting from then onwards. So that is shuhudu juz'in minhu. The first point, he says وَكُلُّ يَوْمٍ سَبَبٌ لِوُجُوبِهِ سَبَبٌ لِوُجُوبِ أَدَائِهِ. He says that every individual day is a cause for that day becoming obligatory to fast, which brings you to the point that, at least as far as the Hanafi madhab is concerned, that for each and every single day you require an intention. You can't start at the beginning of the month and say, I intend to fast the month of Ramadan, so I make my intention now for all 29, 30 days. It don't work like that. Each and every single day, when the new day comes, you have to make that intention. You can't say, no, I'm making my intention for this whole week, so I'll just go along with the motions because I've already made my intention. No, each and every individual day you are required to make an intention. So that is it. Every day brings about this, renews, like every day you perform salah 5 times a day, but when you are intending to perform your salah, you must have your intention each day for each salah 5 times a day. So in like manner, every day that you want to fast, you are required to make your intention. He says, وَهُوَ فَرْضُ أَدَائِهِ وَهُوَ فَرْضٌ أَدَاءً وَقَضَاءً. Okay, question over here. Is waking up for suhoor not good enough niyyah in itself? Not necessarily, no. Okay, first point that I want to mention is that many people, they get confused on the point of a niyyah, and they think that a niyyah has got to be verbal. That is not correct. A niyyah, when it comes to salah and fasting like this, that niyyah, it's mawdi'u niyyah al-qalb, that the heart is the place where the intention is made. So you make that intention in your heart, and that is sufficient as a niyyah. Many people get up in the morning, just to eat. It don't mean that you intend to fast. Some women, during maybe they're getting up, they're not fasting, but they're waking up to make food for their family members and stuff like that. So mere waking up is not sufficient as an intention. And like I say, there's no specific wordings to use. There's no as you can say, you must use these particular words, that it's sunnah to say these words as an intention, or that the intention has to be said in Arabic or anything of the sort. You can say it in Gujarati, in English, in Chinese, in Japanese, whatever language you want to in the world. It's all perfectly fine. If you say it with your verbally, well and good. If you say it in your heart, well and good. Both ways it's 100% valid. So when you go to the intention, it should actually be made the night before. So once Maghrib has entered, then the new day has started. So any point from that point onwards, you can now make your intention for the following day. So that is how it should be, that before you go to bed at night, you should make your intention. It don't take you 2 seconds to make an intention in your heart that, oh Allah, I intend to fast tomorrow to fulfill the obligation of Ramadan. That is sufficient. You don't need to say nawaitu sawmu ghadin, all long thing like that. Try and swat off some intention in Arabic. Nothing of that sort. The minute you've made your intention, then that is it. And the important point why I mentioned you should do it the night before. Suppose you oversleep and then you miss your suhoor, then you've missed that part. Now there comes different ikhtilaf amongst the madhahib, that if you do not, I do not know if it is the fatwa of the Hanbali madhab, but I do know there exists a viewpoint within the Hanbali madhab which says that if you do not make your intention the night before, then your fast is invalid. You can't come now the next morning and make your intention. So therefore, make your intention as far as possible before you go to sleep, so you're in the clear all over. So like I say, it's not something which is difficult. It's something simple, straightforward. Don't cost you 2 ticks to just make a quick intention in your heart that, oh Allah, I intend to fast tomorrow, and that's it. Then it's valid. And this is one more additional point. Once you've made your intention and then you go to sleep and you can do whatever and what all and what not thereafter, that intention stands and it is valid. It don't mean that if you eat now after this that you have to redo your intention, that you go to sleep now you have to redo your intention. No. The minute you've made your intention once, that is sufficient. You don't need to keep on redoing your intention. Alright, coming back to where we were. He says, وَهُوَ فَرْضُ أَدَاءً وَقَضَاءً. He says that the fasting the month of Ramadan, it is an obligation. It is fard ada'an wa qada'an, meaning ada is when you fulfill it in its proper time. Qada is when you fulfill it after its time is expired. So you have to fulfill it when its time is coming. And if something has prevented you from fulfilling it at that time, then you fulfill it qada'an. It becomes obligatory upon you to fast in those must fasts. So that is what qada'an here means. He says, upon who? على من اجتمع فيه أربعة أشياء. It becomes obligatory upon a person who has these 4 qualities within him. He says, number 1, Al-Islam. The person has got to be a Muslim. Fasting is not obligatory upon a kafir, so that is why first condition is that he has got to be a Muslim. Second one, he says, Wal-aqlu. Second condition is that the person must be sane. Ramadan is not obligatory upon mad people. People who are not in their senses, Ramadan is not obligatory upon them. The third one is Wal-bulugh, having reached the age of puberty. So children who have not reached the age of puberty, Ramadan is not obligatory upon them. Just like Salah is not obligatory upon them, but like the hadith mentions that مُرُّوا أَوْلَادَكُمْ بِالصَّلَاةِ وَهُمْ أَبْنَاءُ سَبْعِ سِنِينَ أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام, that command your children to perform Salah while they are 7 years old. And we know generally children are not already baligh from the age of 7, yet you instill it from a young age in the child. So although reaching the age of puberty is a condition for the fast to become obligatory, but children should have been put into this habit of fasting years before they reach this age. The last of the 4 things, he says, وَالْعِلْمُ بِالْوُجُوبِ لِمَنْ أَسْلَمَ بِدَارِ الْحَرْبِ أو الْكَوْنُ بِدَارِ الْإِسْلَامِ. He says that the 4th condition is that the person must have knowledge that Ramadan is obligatory. For which type of person? He says, لِمَنْ أَسْلَمَ بِدَارِ الْحَرْبِ, for a person who accepts Islam in Darul Harb, in the land of the kuffar, the land at war with the Muslims. Now what is the cause for this? Darul Harb is a land which is at war with the Muslims, where there's no knowledge of Islam being spread around this and things. So if a person over there now converts to Islam, he knows basically next to nothing about Islam. So in such a case, if he converts to Islam and he don't know that the month of Ramadan is obligatory, then he will not be sinning by not fasting. That is what he means there, Aslama bidar al-harb. Then he says, awil kawnu bidar al-Islam. As for now, if a person accepts Islam in Darul Islam, then in this case Ramadan becomes obligatory upon him. Why? Because when you are in Darul Islam, then Darul Islam knowledge is spread vastly, it's spread widely all over. There's basically the knowledge is freely available. Everybody, you're surrounded by Muslims, everyone is Muslim, everyone is fasting, everyone, there's, whether it's pamphlets going around, whether it's websites, whether it's lectures, whatever the case may be, you know about the existence of Ramadan and its great importance and it's an obligation and things. How many kuffar today, if you were to just look at it, there are so many of them who know about that, the fact that Ramadan is an obligation in Islam. So this is despite the fact that they are in kuffar countries, but the knowledge is so freely available that, so to say, everybody knows it. So that is the point which he was mentioning over there. Now we move on to a new point here. He says, وَيُشْتَرَطُ لِوُجُوبِ أَدَائِهِ الصِّحَّةُ مِنْ مَرَضٍ وَحَيْضٍ وَنِفَاسٍ وَالْإِقَامَةِ. He says that there are 4 additional conditions now for it to become obligatory to fulfill it in its proper time, meaning when the actual day of the month of Ramadan itself. In order for it to become obligatory upon you to fast, 4 conditions must be met. He says, الصحة من مرض, meaning that you must be healthy and not be ill. Now we're talking here such an illness which prevents you from fasting. Now if you just have you're a bit lightheaded, you've got no illnesses, or maybe you've hurt your foot, it don't affect your health in any way. So in this case, this is not a marad which will prevent you from fasting. We are dealing here with, for example, you have some illness where you are required to take tablets 5 times a day, for example, or you have a severe cough, so which is a rattling cough or whatever, some serious cough there, tuberculosis, something of the sort, which requires you, if you cough, you need to drink something, anything of this sort like this here. Or let's say you've got some bad bug which has taken you down, or you've got measles, or you've got any one of these other illnesses, some illness which prevents you from fasting, then this is a marad which will prevent Ramadan, or rather which will prevent the obligation of Ramadan upon such a person. Okay, question over here, what about being on medication? Depends again, like I say, on what medication. You have medication which are taken morning and evening. So you take it before you start fasting and you take it after you've broken your fast. In that case, whatever case it may be, يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر, that Allah intends ease for a person and Allah does not intend harm and difficulty for a person. So whatever medication and problems and difficulty a person may be in, it will come down to the final point of, is this person capable of fasting or not? And in a case like this here, you take yourself to a reliable Muslim doctor, and the doctor checks you out and he say, no, with the illness you've got, I don't recommend fasting. You should stay away from fasting at least for a week. Then on the verdict of that reliable Muslim doctor, you can now abstain from fasting for that week or however long it may take. If he says the whole month, then you abstain the whole month too, and you repeat the month later on when you get healthy. But if he says you are now unable to fast anymore in your life, then in that case you will now pay the fidya from that point onwards. So it all comes down to the point that whatever medication you are on, or whatever illness you may have, if it prevents you from fasting, then the Sharia has made a way out for you. Nothing is made difficult upon you. Wallahu a'lam. So that was now the first point of as-sihhatu min maradin, that you are free of any debilitating illnesses which will prevent you from fasting. The second thing he says is wahaid, that the second and third things, second and third ones actually, they only apply to women. So the second one is haid, that a woman must not be on her period at this particular time. So while she's menstruating, then it's not permissible for her to fast. So if she's on her period, then this obligation falls away. And the third one is nifas, is the bleeding after childbirth. So like I say, these two only apply to women. You don't have men being on periods and giving birth to children. So therefore these two don't apply to them. So these, for women there are 4, for men there's only 2. So in any case, a woman who is in any one of these 2 conditions, the obligation of fasting will now fall away from her. And the last one of the 4 is al-iqama, that the person must be a resident in a particular town. Meaning, if you are now presently on a journey, you are a musafir, then the obligation of fasting falls off you. You have the option. It's up to you. If you want to fast while you are on your journey, it is your right. You can do so. Your fast will be valid. Everything will be in its place like that. But if you say that Allah has given me a rukhsa in this regard, that I'm traveling on the road now, it's a long journey, so I'm not going to fast, I will fulfill it in later on after the month of Ramadan has ended, I will make qada of these fasts, then the Sharia has given you the leeway for it. Therefore it will be permissible for you to go ahead and not fast while you are on that journey. And this point is a journey which takes you to the point of becoming a musafir. Not simply meaning I'm going from here to the train station, which is maybe 40 kilometers, so I'm saying, okay, no, I'm going to be traveling here, so I'm not going to fast. No, the required distance is that 77 kilometers or 80 kilometers, however the distance the ulama mentioned. Some say 77, that little bit of distance there. Only if you are traveling that amount to become a musafir, only then will this condition fall away from you. Now we move on to the next point. He says, وَيُشْتَرَطُ لِلصِّحَّةِ أَدَائِهِ ثَلَاثَةٌ. That in order for your fast to be valid, 3 things have to be met. He says, number 1, an-niyah, that firstly is your intention. Without your intention, you have no fast. Number 2, وَالْخُلُوُّ عَمَّا يُنَافِيهِ مِنْ حَيْضٍ وَنِفَاسٍ. The second condition is that you should be abstain and avoid everything which will negate it, from whether it's hayd, whether it's nifas, and whatever other things are similar to this. And then lastly, the third one is وَعَمَّا يُفْسِدُهُ, and abstaining from everything which will negate the fast. So firstly, you make your intention and your fast begins. Then from that point onwards, you now have to abstain Okay, if a woman happens to now fall into haid or nifas, then obviously her fast will break and everything like that. But that one is in its place. The third one is amma yufsiduhu. You are now in the state of fasting. Now while you are in this state, you have to abstain from everything which is a nullifier or a breaker of the fast. So those are your three conditions, that as long as these things are met, that you have not done anything which has broken it, you have made your intention, and you are not in the state of haid or nifas, then in this case your fast is valid. It says, وَلَا يُشْتَرَطُ الْخُلُوُّ مِنَ الْجَنَابَةِ. He ends off by saying that it is not a condition that you abstain from being in the state of janaba, meaning a ritual impurity that you require a ghusl. Meaning that if you require a fard ghusl, then that will not prevent you from being able to fast. Your fast will still be valid. So you got up, let's say for example, you made your intention the night before, you overslept for suhoor, you overslept for fajr, everything, you woke up here in the middle of the day, whatever, you are knocked out for so long, and you happen to be now in the state of janaba. Your fast is 100% intact. You will now make your ghusl and continue fasting for the rest of the day like normal, without there being any harm done to your fast. That being in the state of janaba won't affect your fast. So we were on the point of وَلَا يُشْتَرَطُ الْخُلُوُّ مِنَ الْجَنَابَةِ, that if you happen to wake up in the state of janaba requiring a fard ghusl, then that will not negate your fast from being valid. Moving on, he says وَرُكْنُهُ الْكُفُّ عَنْ قَضَاءِ شَهْوَتَيِ الْبَطْنِ وَالْفَرْجِ وَمَا أُلْحِقَ بِهِمَا. He says that what are the arkan, the pillars of fasting? It is al-kufu an qada'i shahwatay al-batni wal-farj. It is to abstain yourself from fulfilling the two desires, the desire of the stomach and desire of the private parts, and wama ulhiqa bihima, and that which goes along with it. So it's not necessarily that you have to eat food. It can also be that, for example, if you take medication, like I mentioned, medication which goes to your brain, medication which is injected directly into your stomach, whether it's medication which is snuffed up the nose, whatever case it may be. Although it's medication, it's not something which is to fill your stomach basically as food, but it still will break your fast. So that is why he says وَمَا أُلْحِقَ بِهِمَا, and that which goes along with it as well. Now what is the ruling with regards to when you do all these things here? He says وَحُكْمُهُ سُقُوطُ الْوَاجِبِ عَنِ الذِّمَّةِ وَالثَّوَابِ فِي الْآخِرَةِ وَاللَّهُ أَعْلَمُ. Meaning that if you happen to fast, you've done everything which is over here, you've abstained from all the stuff which you are supposed to abstain from, you fulfill all the stuff you are supposed to fulfill, then suqutul wajibi ani dhimma, then the obligation now becomes fulfilled. It falls off your shoulders, that you are not required, you have done what you have been commanded basically. And then wathawabi fil akhirah, that Allah will also additionally reward you in the year after. Wallahu a'lam, and Allah knows best. And that is the end of the first opening portion of Kitaabus Sawm. The next portion will continue on to the different types of fasting, but that inshallah we will do next week. Unfortunately, because of this data having run out, we are forced to stop at this point over here. Also, as a result of this, now the Shama'il Tirmidhi class, which was supposed to be taking place now in a few minutes, will also be delayed. Possibly we can postpone it until tomorrow night at same 8:30 p.m. BST, or whichever time is suitable. And then otherwise, if not, then we will do it next week Tuesday inshallah. But other than that, on this point here we will end for now. And we say, وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد سبحان الله وبحمده سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.